What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Leo Rydell here from Geekly Goods, guys, to talk the best and worst movies of 2019. But before we dive into the mix, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe to come back for the latest Geekly Good videos on movies, TV, gaming, all kinds of stuff, guys. Food. We do all kinds of stuff on this channel, so come back, tune in, and enjoy the content, everybody. But wow, 2019, what a year for movies, guys. I mean, good and bad. There's a lot of both, but I narrowed it down to 5 just to keep it short for you guys, and I'm gonna start off with the worst, the stinkers, the nasty movies of this year. I mean, there have been a lot of them. In the latest news is Cats, but there have been plenty other ones that have been all over the place. I mean, man, I'll admit, there are a lot of films I avoided this year, and I'm glad I did because I thought they were going to be bad. Now, I just want to pull up my list here and just kind of start from number 5. My number 5 worst movie of 2019 has got to be Men in Black International. They pulled the same mistake that Independence Day Resurgence pulled. They pulled Will Smith from the main cast. You don't get rid of Will Smith. The attracting factor of the Men in Black movies is Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. We all know that. That's why we came to the series. It was fun, it was funny, it was original, fresh. You remove those two from the list, and you've got a movie that's the same lore but different actors. It just didn't quite work for me. You know, I like Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and I love Tessa Thompson, but the two of them together in this movie, the energy was okay. I will give them that, but everything else was sloppy. It was a mess. It was just trying so hard to be the Men in Black that we loved and adored from the last decade, and I just think that it's not necessary. I think it was just really a movie that wasn't necessary. It had awkward pacing, odd characters. The villains were kind of cool, but not. Like, that movie was just really badly done, in my opinion. And honestly, I had to put it on my number 5. But let's keep the train rolling, guys. I want to go to my number 4. Now, number 4, I know a lot of people are going to argue with me on this one, but I have to put this one on the list, and that is Glass. I thought that Glass served as a pretty horrible conclusion for both Unbreakable and Split, and I thought maybe these two movies could actually connect in some way cohesively and could work. A bad idea. I honestly, not even probably, it was a bad idea. I'm sorry. M. Night Shyamalan, this is another movie for me that you have really messed up. Not gonna talk about The Last Airbender this time, but I will say this. I was really not a fan of Glass. I thought it ended in a kind of whack way. I just thought the conclusion just didn't really serve. Alright, I'm gonna time out. Spoiler warning. I thought, seriously, killing David Dunn by dunking his head in water, that was the most ridiculous death for any superhero. And I get it. I know that was the point. I know it's because, you know, he can drown, he can't swim. I get it. But that was absolutely ridiculous. You mean to tell me he can drop into the tank and die that way? They have to dunk his head in the asphalt? Nope. No. All right. Moving on to number 3, guys, because that one has got me steamy. Now, number 3, another Disney remake, another unnecessary live-action Disney remake, Dumbo. I really enjoyed the original animated Dumbo. It's fun. It's pretty short. It's like only an hour, I believe. Maybe not even that. Maybe about 45, 50 minutes. But this movie, Tim Burton did what he did to Alice in Wonderland and added too much padding to this movie. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, in the worst way. Like, he really just stripped the fun and the magic out of Dumbo. You know, he cast 2 children, and I really think the child actors, not their fault, but their roles weren't good enough to replace Timothy Q. Mouse, who is not in the movie at all. Danny DeVito acts like Danny DeVito, so he's fine. Dumbo looks pretty good, but every other character in this movie is just pretty ridiculous, if you ask me. I mean, it's Dumbo and Timothy Q. Mouse in the original movie. Why remove one of the characters and replace him with all these others? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The music wasn't good. It kind of felt like it had a depressing vibe. It was definitely Burton-esque. It just wasn't there. It wasn't doing anything for me. It wasn't doing anything. Now, I measured this one up against Lion King and decided which one I wanted to put, and I just had to give it to this Dumbo remake because it was, sorry, Dumbo. Now, moving on to my second worst movie of 2019, guys. My number 2 has got to be The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Now, this came out before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it was just bizarre and wacky, and Hilary Duff and Sharon Tate didn't make sense, and everything was just blah, 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 blah. I just could not get past Honestly, I couldn't even get past about 30 minutes of that movie before I felt like I wanted to shut it off. Moving on, guys, to my very last one, my number one worst movie of the year. What is it? Is it Cats? No, because I didn't see that movie because I thought that would be my number one worst. The Fanatic, I heard that's a bad one. That looked pretty bad. Sorry, Travolta, you gotta get in some better roles, man. So I decided to skip that one as well. But my number one worst movie of 2019 has got to be Hellboy. Hellboy was absolutely horrible. I thought putting David Harbour in as Hellboy would have been a good idea. I thought maybe he would bring some charm to the role. No, he played a drunk. He was stupid. He kind of reminded me of Jack Sparrow, a dumb, bumbling drunk. And he wasn't funny. He wasn't cool. He wasn't somebody you can look up to. He was literally an alcoholic. Like, it was not funny. And I know this is like a closer adaptation to the Hellboy comics, but yo, when you guys put out the first two Hellboy movies with Ron Perlman, like, those were amazing. Bring Ron Perlman back and have him play Hellboy again, because that was an awful portrayal. And the way people died in this movie where their body would like disintegrate into those snake things, weird. I just was not getting behind this Hellboy. It was horribly acted. The CGI was cool, kinda. I thought at parts it kind of fell apart, in my opinion, and the ending was just absolutely idiotic. So I gotta say, this is the number one worst movie of the year for me. Now, I know on a lot of people's list, Cats will be up there, and The Fanatic, but guys, those are movies I skipped out on because I knew they looked horrible. But I will be catching up on them for one of my videos coming early in 2020, a 2019 catch-up, because I am a little bit behind on movies this year. Oh, I hate to admit that, but I'm a little bit behind on movies this year, and I gotta get kind of caught up. So I will be catching up on 2019 films very soon here. Now, to move on to the top 5 best movies, before I go to it, I want to just mention some honorable mentions that are just really up there in terms of the films of 2019. I gotta start with Avengers Endgame. I know! Oh my god, it's not on my top 5! It's not, unfortunately. I loved Endgame. I really did. I loved it. My heart and soul adored it. I really loved the decisions they made with characters to give Cap the hammer and to have Iron Man put on the glove and sacrifice himself. Like, I will say, those were some great moments in the movie. And I loved it. And Hulk as Professor Hulk, it was amazing. But I just gotta say, there are a couple films above it for me. It's definitely my number 6 on my top 10 of the year, but there are just some films that come above it for me. Another one I gotta honorably mention is Peanut Butter Falcon. What a phenomenal buddy film. That, to me, felt like Shawshank Redemption type friendship. Like, that was the bond between Shia LaBeouf and Zach Gottsagen was absolutely energizing. It was phenomenal to see it translate on screen so well, and they actually had a great friendship together. And I actually got to interview the directors for the movie, and if you don't mind, check it out down in the link. But I will say, great film. Rocket Man, that was another really good one. I really liked Taron Egerton, and I really liked him as Elton John. Midsummer, holy smokes. I never thought I would ever see a horror movie in the daytime where I'm absolutely terrified. That's the case with Midsummer. I was horrified. I love Chris Pugh. I love the rest of the cast. It was fun. It was great. It was very scary in daytime. Holy smokes. Ari Aster really has to direct another horror film. Lots more films, but I gotta say, those are some of my absolute honorable mentions. I gotta get on to the top 5. Starting with number 5, Us. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, this is our honorable mention, or it's not that good. I actually really enjoyed how obscure and how weird and how funky Jordan Peele got with the second one, because Get Out was such a kind of straightforward message and note, and this was very different. And I loved the doppelgangers, and I loved I loved the gold scissors, the symbolism of, you are your greatest enemy. I really loved Us a lot. I thought it was a tasteful horror film. It definitely had me sweating, beating in sweat before going to bed that night. I was actually frightened of that movie. Now, moving on to number 4. Number 4, God. Whew. And I have yet to do a review on this film because it's so hard to talk about, but Marriage Story. Marriage Story is absolutely phenomenal. First, I just want to say, It's hard for me not to cry about this one because it's such a good movie, but Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver did such a phenomenal job of acting. I didn't once think I was looking at Kylo Ren and Black Widow. I really enjoyed their acting. I thought they did a phenomenal job of actually making a divorce look real. This was a deep dive into a real divorce, obviously fictional, but what felt like a very surreal divorce with equal sides on both sides. Nobody was hitting, nobody was shoving, but there was yelling, there was disagreement, there was, there was fatigue, there was problems. I mean, it was an actual divorce. And for that, I gotta say, this is definitely my number 4. But cheering back up, moving on to number 3. Number 3, I gotta go with The Irishman. Scorsese is one of my favorite directors, and seeing him come back with, not only with Robert De Niro, not only with Al Pacino, but Joe Pesci as well. Like, honestly, Joe Pesci hasn't been in films in so long, so it was great to see him. There were great actors on screen together, lots of killing and lots of quick, pow, easy walk-by shoots. Love the movie. It's pretty long, but I will say I loved the layers in the film. I loved bouncing back and forth from the past to the present. Love the movie, guys, and if you haven't seen it, check it out on Netflix now. It is 3 hours and 30 minutes, so be prepared, but it is freaking awesome. Now, I gotta move on to my number 2. Number 2 was... I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, and probably my list too, but man, number 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was just such an ode to like old school Hollywood and the golden age and moving out of that, and just like everything about that movie was amazing. The set design, the acting, like I gotta give it up to Leonardo DiCaprio for being able to portray an actor in a movie acting in a movie. It was like a movie within a movie, and he had to play an actor acting in a movie within a movie. It was crazy. Great talent from both him and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is generally not a scaled down character, but to have him play not one, but 2 cool roles this year is amazing. You know, he's cool, he's awesome, he's slicked back, he's just that cool guy, and I loved his role in this movie, and I loved that, Tarantino pulled his usual Tarantino in historical twists, and he did something with the Sharon Tate murders that nobody else did. So I love this movie, and I gotta say, giving it up to Quentin Tarantino, that this is definitely one of my favorites of his in recent years. I gotta say, love this movie beginning to end, and I know it's long, but man, I watched it on 35mm, and maybe that helped, but it gave this grainy, original, fresh feel to it. I mean, there was cinema. I mean, there was grain, and there was pops, and I loved seeing it in 35mm. And now, drum roll please! Number 1, favorite movie of the year, got to go with Joker. Like, that movie just stole my heart. Now, in a bad way. I mean, it was just top to bottom, phenomenal. Joaquin Phoenix really pulled this movie through. He is an amazing, phenomenal actor, but this was the next level. Losing 50 pounds, dropping so much weight, becoming someone completely different, playing this frail, weak Arthur Fleck. I loved him in this movie, but guys, you have to admit, that transition from going from Arthur to the Joker was phenomenal. The psychotic Batman, all of it was phenomenal, guys. So I gotta say, that's my number 1 of this year. But what are your best and worst movies of 2019? Unfortunately, my camera battery is almost up, so I have to kind of rush through this outro. Let me know you guys' best and worst down in the comments and how I did. What do you think of my list? Am I bizarre? Am I a wacko? Let me know your thoughts, guys, down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe and smash that like button if you like this content, guys. This has been Leo Rydell from Geekly Goods, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Geekly Goods on all social media platforms, and grab something from our store. We take $1 of every purchase and donate it to arts education to keep arts in the classrooms. We'll see you next time.